Hi, this is David. Thank you very much for joining me on this video. And I'm particularly excited about this video because it covers a very important topic, extremely important topic. And I hope you will take the time to maybe even revisit this video a couple of times until you internalize it. We're going to be talking about self-talk, and this is part one. And in part one, we're going to cover the basics and fundamentals of self-talk. The reason why I respect this subject so much and I'm very excited about it is because, as you're soon going to see, self-talk is what really creates your life situations, your life circumstances. Pretty much, I think I can assign it maybe a weight of about 80%. Just this is just a rough estimate, but I would say about 80% of your life circumstances moving, okay, fine, we're all born in places where some people say I didn't choose to be born there, and some people say no, you chose to be born where you were born. It's just that you forgot the choice because it was made, pre-birth, whatever. It doesn't matter. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking is, besides the things, the situation you're born in, whether you're born in Africa or United States, as a man or a woman, as an Indian or a, European or whatever, beyond those, the thing that really influences your life, and the thing can really change your stars regardless of where you're born and who you are, is self-talk. That's how big this topic is. Okay, so I hope you will grasp its significance. So let's move on. Now, we're all into personal development. I bet if you're watching this, you're into personal development, or maybe you want to call it coaching or self-help, whatever, peak performance training, whatever. Now, the problem with personal development is very simple, yeah? No matter how many self-help, coaching, personal development, and executive leadership courses you take, or books you read, or videos you watch, the truth remains that if your brain keeps thinking the same thoughts most of the time, you're not going to achieve the change that you seek. In other words, if you keep thinking the same thing over and over again, you're going to keep having the same results. Now, if you're like me or most people on earth, I'm sure you've read some book that really got you excited, or you've been to like maybe a Tony Robbins seminar and you really got pumped up and motivated, or you saw some movie that got you really like, yeah, this is it, man, I'm going to change my life. But then after a little while, you run out of steam, you run out of momentum, and you're right back where you are, you know? It has happened a lot to everybody, me myself included. Sometimes we manage to, jump across and make it, but a lot of times we just get back to where we were. And even though we know this new stuff, we somehow go back to our old habits. Now, it's not that personal development or self-help or even the authors and teachers and gurus are mistaken. No, most of the time they have a very valuable point. They're usually right. They usually have good intentions, but the nature of the mind is, it doesn't, you have programming, right? So if you're not going to be able to program and hard code the stuff that you're learning, then it's not going to stick around and it's not going to change your life. That's the problem with personal development. Yeah, there's a missing step. Now, this is a missing step. You must erase negative, counterproductive programming or conditioning and replace it with positive, helpful programming that is in line with your life's desires. If you don't do this step of erasing and replacing the old habitual patterns of thinking, for example, you're not going to change much. You'll know some new cool stuff, but then the old habits and of patterns of thinkings are much stronger than this new stuff you learned over the weekend at a seminar. So this is a missing step. And this is why we're talking about self-help as the key, not only to help you create your perfect average day, but to help you implement anything new that you learn from now on in any self-help, coaching, personal development, or executive leadership courses that you take. If you learn how to use self-talk properly, then you can turn any of that training into like stuff that works for you and makes changes in your life. And you can also learn how to design your perfect average day using the same techniques. So please pay attention. Now, let's look at what is programming or conditioning. What is that? What does that mean? Well, let's look at most people's lives. According to some researchers, most people have been told the word no or the equivalent. Like, for example, you can't, you don't have talent for it, or you'll never make it, or you suck, or you're clumsy, or it's just not your thing, it's not your style, forget about it. Any of that stuff, like, stop dreaming, any of those negative statements. Most people, by the time they reach an average age, have been told no or the equivalent roughly 148,000 times. I don't know who came up with this number, but I've seen this number a few times. But it doesn't matter. Look, whether it's 148 or 248 or it's 48,000 times, still a lot of no's, right? So I think you can identify with this. So many times, so many things, so many people have told you, look, just stay at your place. Don't try and rise up. Or it could be in any area of life. It could be like in finding a relationship. People tell you, just give up, forget about it, or you'll never find what you're looking for, or there are no good guys left out there, or there are no great girls left out there. Or if it comes to like success, or forget it, only Bill Gates can make it, most of us will always be down there, or whatever. There's so many times in any area of your life. Maybe even it's music. Maybe you wanted to play a piano, and then somebody tells you, oh, you don't even have an ear for music. I mean, people say all sorts of random crap. If you haven't been trained to play a piano, how would they expect you to know how to play? So how can they judge you? But anyways, people tell each other all this kind of rubbish, and this is programming. This is what starts to program you slowly. you know and the more you're told, the more it becomes part of that little voice in your head called self-talk, and then it maintains itself. So even when that person who told you that stupid negative statement is gone, you tell it now to yourself. This is especially so when it comes from people we respect, and or people who have power over us, maybe parents or teachers, or bigger siblings or whatever, right? Now, it's been estimated that most people think about 50,000 thoughts a day. Okay? And get this, 77% of those 50,000 thoughts is repetitive, negative, and it is learned and conditioned. You rarely have a brand new thought that you've never heard of before. Like a thought that goes, hey, hang on, where'd that come from? I have never heard of that before. No, you rarely have those. They happen, but very rarely. Most of it is just the same old crap going over and over again, right? And if you haven't trained yourself, it's going to be negative, right? You haven't reconditioned yourself. That's why you see a lot of these, like, let's say, like extremely good sportsters. They do a lot of like conditioning. They condition their mind so that their mind no longer tells them rubbish. It tells them things that builds them. And this is where we're getting to now, right? Now, you can imagine if most people have 50,000 thoughts a day, 77% of which are negative and self-defeating, and they've been told no 148,000 times in their life. It's not a surprise that they might have some difficult lives and hardships in attaining their goals or having the kind of life that they desire, right? Right. Now, this is very important. You become what you think about most of the time. Once again, you become what you think about most of the time. Standard procedure that happens all the time. You're just like a computer. You're just like a computer. And with a computer, or as with a computer, just like a computer, the programming dictates the outcome. So whatever you've been programmed with or conditioned with is what's going to dictate the outcome. It's not your wishful thinking. It's not God. It's not Allah. It's not the magic bunny. It's whatever you've been conditioned and programmed with. Face the facts. That's how it works, right? So, now, the worst thing is most people are not even aware of what they tell themselves in their head. Yeah, they're least aware, or they are not even conscious of what's going on in their head. It's not that it's impossible. It's just that most people are not listening to what they're telling themselves, or even if they're listening, they just take it as a fact of life, so they don't actually question it. They, you know, they it never occurs to them that they're telling themselves stuff that doesn't either hold the truth of, the light of truth, if you are to really really put it to the test, or it doesn't even occur to them that they're conditioned or programmed. It doesn't. They just think, oh, that's just me, that's how you know but what we're going to be doing here is learning how to wake up and change the tune. Very important. First step is to wake up, to be aware of what are you telling yourself, and then we're going to learn how to reprogram, change that tune. Now let's look at the sequence of how you cause your successes or failures in life. How do these come about? Now, at the very top level, I want us to do it two ways. I want us to go top down, and then after that we're gonna go from down up, bottom to the top. So that way, it kind of like it will help you understand this better. It helped me understand this better. So at the very, very highest level, you have programming or conditioning, what you are trained or, accustomed to see as the truth. So whatever it is, especially when you're growing up, whatever it is that you're conditioned to or trained to see as a truth or to accept as the truth about life, yeah, and maybe you are trained, this is how you get trained. You're either trained or conditioned using pleasure or pain. So let's say you touched a bit of, a very hot piece of metal at some point, or you touch something like a live wire with electricity when you're a little kid and you got a shock. That pain conditioned you immediately to regard electricity as dangerous, and you hardly ever touch it. You have this maybe a little bit of an extra fear, a healthy amount of risk, fear for it, but you kind of dodge it maybe. Or maybe somebody used to consistently give you pleasure or pain regarding a particular outcome, let's say like doing your homework or whatever, reward and punishment, or maybe even it was acceptance and rejection. As a little kid, you are craving to be accepted, and anything that caused rejection you regarded as not good. Anything that caused acceptance you regarded as good. So this is how conditioning happens, or programming. And it made you decide that certain things are true, or life is a certain way. I hope you're understanding this. Think of children. The minute you give them, let's say you reward them with candy for doing something, they learn to keep doing that, and they keep thinking, oh, that's a good thing, even if it's not, but to them it's true, it's a good thing. And the minute you punish them, even if you punish them for doing the right thing, then slowly they'll start to think the right thing is the wrong thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? So conditioning mainly occurs because of how much pleasure or pain or reward and punishment or acceptance or rejection that you're getting in regards to a certain thing, and then how you interpreted that. Because some people may have had let's say pain when they're playing, let's say they were playing a sport and they got pain, and they thought, oh, that's just fun, it's part of the sport to get pain, that's cool. And somebody else may have had the same sport, had the same amount of pain, but instead said, oh, this is bad for my health, and so they stopped playing the game. So it's about the pain and how you interpreted that pain, right? So that's how your conditioning happens, and it creates little sentences in your head, that now become self-talk. But anyways, now your programming, or what you've seen as truth, creates the next level of beliefs. Beliefs are what you think is the truth about something. I think we've already pretty much talked about this when we were talking about programming, so I think maybe I've covered a bit of this before in the last point. But anyways, in other words, your truth about something is what you'd call your belief. Beliefs are simply thoughts that you think over and over and over again, and you accept them as truth. In other words, you don't reject them, you accept them. Okay? So programming creates beliefs about something, or rather your truth about something. And the reason it's your truth and not universal truth is because you might think something is true and the next guy might think it's not true, but in reality maybe both of you are right, or both of you are wrong. So truth is a very personal thing. There are very few universal truths. Most truths are very personal or regional, or maybe temporal. Maybe what was true now is true now, it was not true 2,000 years ago, or vice versa. But anyway, so your beliefs create your next level, your attitudes about something, or your perspective, how you see or approach various aspects of your life. Yeah. And think about this. Whenever you have a good attitude about something, you tend to get it done. If you have a bad attitude about it, you tend not to do it, or you tend to avoid it. Same thing with perspective. If you think a particular lifestyle is difficult to achieve, you'll tend not to go for it. If you think it's easy, you'll tend to go for it and accomplish. Perspective and attitudes, they in turn influence your feelings, how you feel about something. Yeah, your emotions about events, things, situations, people, thoughts, etc. Yeah, are largely created by what you believe about those events, things, situations, people, thoughts, etc. If you believe somebody's bad, you'll feel bad about that person. If you believe somebody's good, you'll feel good about them. Same for events and so on. Now, feelings, then come along to influence your behavior and your actions. How you act, what you say, your body language, how you carry yourself, how you present yourself. In other words, all actions and behaviors, big and small, are influenced by your feelings, and your actions will always give you corresponding results. I think we can all agree that usually, most of the time, if you do the right thing, you'll get the right results. Yeah, and if you do the wrong thing, you're going to get the wrong results. We can all sort of like agree on this one point, that actions really determine a lot as well. I know some people will argue about, let's say, hard work. Some people say, oh, the secret to success is hard work. Other people say, no, that's not it. It's working smart. All these things come together, and they all kind of like, if you think through it carefully, you're going to realize that this 5 sequence of results really makes sense. And by the way, when we're talking about, sorry, let me try and bring that screen back. Excuse me for that. We're going to get there. Yeah, when we're talking about, let's say, programming and beliefs and perspectives and attitudes, these also influence the situations and circumstances and coincidences and, accidents, in quotes, that you experience around your life as well, using the law of attraction. So it's not that everything leads purely to action, but even to the opportunities of actions that you end up having are all influenced by the very first point, programming. Yeah, because you tend to see what you believe. For example, you will tend to get what you believe. You will tend to attract the kind of life you believe. But you can sort of also arrange all that into these 5 steps of causes for success and failure. All right. Now let's kind of like look at this in reverse order, because seeing it both ways will kind of will help us understand this a whole lot better. Now, in reverse order, let's start with behaviors and actions, because most of the time we're involved in actions during the day. Yeah, you're not as aware of your beliefs as you are of your actions. So a lot of times you tend to assign your results to your actions, more to your actions than to your beliefs. So let's start there this time and work backwards and see how that works out. Now, how you act, what you say, your body language, how you carry yourself, how you approach things and present yourself, everything. All actions and behaviors, big and small, give you corresponding results. So again, if you do the right thing, usually you will get the right results, and vice versa. Now, behaviors and actions are caused by feelings. Your emotions about events, things, situations, people, thoughts, etc. all influence your behavior and actions. Now, feelings are brought about by, there we go, attitudes, perspectives. How you see or approach various aspects of life causes you to feel a certain way about it. Yeah. Now, perspective and attitudes is created by your beliefs. What you think is the truth about something, in other words, your truth about something, creates your attitude and perspective about it. Now, beliefs come from programming, conditioning, what you're conditioned to see as truth, and that dictates your whole life. So I hope you can see how important it is to work at things at the level of programming, not even at the level of beliefs, because people say, oh, change your belief. Man, that's really hard, because you don't even know where to start or how to change it. But when you look at programming, It's very easy, and then it changes everything else. That's why this is so powerful and important. Now, programming is self-talk. I mean, like we said, programming is conditioning. But once you're conditioned, you form these brief sentences in your head that your mind creates to remind you of that conditioning. That remember, we said conditioning comes about because of your, pain, pleasure about something, or punishment, reward about something, acceptance, rejection about something. Now, to maintain um, the good side according to your brain, and to avoid the bad side again according to your brain creates this, or your mind, sorry, it creates these short sentences which now become your self-talk. The way you talk to yourself inside, the conversations you have with yourself in your mind, or the instructions you give yourself, and also even the way you talk to other people about yourself or about life, whatever. That is programming. It comes about so that you can avoid pain and you can get pleasure, or you can get acceptance and avoid rejection, and so on. So we can agree programming is equal to self-talk, and this includes what you say silently to yourself, what you tell others about yourself, the mental conversations you have with yourself, and so on. Now, there are 5 levels of self-talk, and this is according to Dr. Shad Helmstetter, and he's done a brilliant study on self-talk, and so we're going to use some of his ideas here. Now, the 5 levels of self-talk, starting from the lowest and least beneficial, or rather most harmful, to the helpful and beneficial ones are: at level 1, you have negative acceptance. In other words, you accept negative things about yourself. For example, you say, I can't, or I don't have, or I will never, or I am not, or I will never become, and so on. You get the drift. So you say something bad or negative about yourself, and then you accept it. This is the worst part. You actually accept it. That is super crippling, because once you believe you're less than, then you're screwed. You're not going, not going to make any progress. The minute you just accept that you can't, then you're going to be right about that. If you accept that you can't, then you're going to be right about that. Like Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or you can't, either way you're right. Think about that. Henry Ford, he said, whether you believe you can or you can't, either way you are right. So that's the worst level of self-talk. Any statements that you find inside of yourself that are saying this should all be burnt and replaced with something better. Now, level 2 is recognition and the need to change. So you recognize change and your need to change, and for that you have sentences such as I should do this, or I should not do this, or I ought to do this, or I ought not to do this, or I need to do this. Now, this level camouflages itself. It appears as helpful, but it's not. It's just about always harmful. Always. Because think about this: if you say you should do something but you're not doing it, then already you've pretty much in a secret, in a indirect way, given yourself a level 1 statement. Like, let's say I should I should exercise more often. Okay, that means you're starting to feel guilty because you don't exercise more often. So there's a sentence underneath that. Maybe you didn't voice it, but it's saying you're bad because you're not exercising, or you're a failure or something. So any should, ought, need to is always harmful unless it's accompanied by a solution that you can apply successfully. So level 1 and 2 are junk. Just remember that. Now, level 3, you get to the decision to change. This is where you have the decision and you have the means, or you're going, okay, that's it. Even if I don't have the means, I know I'm going to do this. Now, this is where we start getting into positive self-talk. Sentences, examples are sentences that include words like I never or I no longer, and they're always helpful. And these include statements such as I never let negative people get me down, or I no longer have difficulty with driving. So this is very helpful to the subconscious, because once you start telling it that, slowly it starts to recreate that. Yeah. So let's say you want to make change regarding smoking. Let's say you're a smoker, You'd say, I no longer enjoy smoking, even when you're smoking. And you'll also say, I never smoke. So one day, even if you're smoking as you're saying this, it will mess with your head, and your subconscious will slowly start making smoking very not enjoyable. It's gonna start tasting like crap, even if you used to enjoy it. This is just an example I'm giving you. So it's one of those situations where you fake it till you make it. Yeah, and if you repeat this often enough, one day it becomes true. Level 4 is where you accept a better you. Here it's pretty much always an I am statement. It's the most powerful level for positive personal creation. Yeah, it literally creates new realities. Actually, it's super powerful. It jumps. It can erase level 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, you do it properly. It can erase level 1, 2, and 3. It basically can declare to your subconscious, okay, I don't care what I'm doing right now. I don't care how the past has been. It's irrelevant completely. From now on, I am this. You see, it jumps level 1, 2, 3. And the examples: I am healthy and energetic. I am a winner. I'm an active person who loves exercise. I'm a person who people love to hear from. Yeah, like that sentence right there would have erased the I am shy and no one wants to hear from me. You see? Anyways, I am living the life I choose. I enjoy getting things done. I have an excellent memory for people's names. I like who I am. I respect myself. Um, those kind of sentences or statements, if you have that kind of conversation talking to you in your head all the time, your life would be very different than if, let's say, you have the opposite. Yeah, I think you can agree with that. It's not make believe bullshit. This is real stuff here. Now, this level is extremely powerful and energizing. It can counter anything and any negative level 1 and 2 self talk. In fact, it can even jump level 3, which we know is positive, but it's always good to combine level 3, 4, and 5. But I'm just saying it's that powerful. It's super powerful. As long as you can um, get that to be a habitual way of thinking, that you have level 4 positive I am statements running through your head all the time, you'll be amazed. You're amazed at the stuff you'll get coming back positively in your life. It's crazy. I mean, average Joes have turned their life around and made amazing lives out of them just using this. Some people call them affirmations, whatever call them, affirmations or whatever. This is, the point is, you say it enough to yourself until it becomes habit. Okay. Oh, by the way, before we continue, you can either say it, you can read it to yourself in a card, or you can record a tape and listen to it in your MP3 player. But we'll get into that in part 2, the second video after this one. So anyways, back to the 5 levels of self-talk. The 5th level is the universal affirmation level. Example sentences start with it is. For example, I am one with the universe and it is one with me. I am of it, within it, and divine. So this level goes beyond the egotistical me. Yeah, it transcends the self. Yeah, so it's not better than level 3 or 4. It simply transcends it. It's bigger than. And to be honest with you, most people cannot only use level 5, and it's not advisable to only use level 5. I mean, we live in a world where there's a lot of personal things going on, and that's part of the purpose of the ego. The ego is not a bad thing. It's just maybe something that needs to be managed, but it's a tool that we need. It was created specifically so that we can have false idea of individuation, or me versus you. It's for experience. The point of the ego is so that we can have comparative experience. Because without it, then you'd have an absolute experience, which doesn't have comparison, and so you don't really. Do you understand? If there's only white, or if there's only tall people, then you didn't have the experience of tall versus short. See, so that's called relative experience. That's the point of the ego, to provide relative experience. So it's good, it's useful, but it's a tool, and there's no point letting it get over and above its use and run your life. But it's good. So anyways, so level 5 transcends the egotistical me. But the advice is you use level 3, 4, and 5 affirmations. You just don't stick to level 5 or only level 4. Okay? Now, before we finish this, just it's important for you to notice one thing. Notice that self-talk is never future-based. Like you never say, I will go to Mexico. I will start doing my exercises. I will eat healthily. I will respect people more. You never say that. That's it's like it'll never happen. It'll never come. So you never phrase your self-talk in future. In fact, even your own self-talk right now, if you listen to how you talk, naturally you never get an I will statement. I've never heard of anyone with an I will statement in their self-talk, because it's always present moment. It's present based, or it states something as if it has already happened. So, for example, I am, or as if it happens all the time, or I always, I always do this, or even when you say I should, it's about something that you keep doing in the past and now you think you should not do it anymore. You see, so you never phrase it in the future. That's never gonna work. So just forget about that. Never do that. Now, the core principle here, once we've learned about self-talk, what we're going to be doing, especially in the second video, and I'll also give you some sample self-talk scripts, but the whole idea is this. Number one is to become conscious and aware of your level 1 and level 2 negative statements that you currently have running through your mind and running your life. If you're not aware of what you're telling yourself, then you don't know what's messing you up. So we'll get into how to become aware of your level 1 and 2 statements. Very easy. Within 48 hours, you'll know everything, every kind of nonsense you tell yourself. All right? And then, after that, we're going to replace those level 1 and 2 negative statements with the appropriate level 3, 4, and 5 positive statements. So it's get rid of the junk, but if you just get rid of it, the mind will just come back with it again. So you have to replace it with good stuff. The mind hates a vacuum. You always have to replace with something. So that's the whole point. And that is called reprogramming your subconscious. And some people think the subconscious is something that is forever locked away from us, that we can never know what the subconscious is doing. That's not true. All they're saying is there's some things that you become so habitual and used to that you're not even aware they're there. But if you pay attention, you'll know what your subconscious is up to. It's not difficult. You don't need hypnosis or meditation for a lot of these things. Some things, maybe, I don't know. But for most of the stuff that runs your life, you don't need that. With a pen and paper, you can be aware of what your subconscious is up to. Now, this all beats positive thinking, motivation, etc. because it gets rid of the old negatives by replacing with the new positives. All right? Now, we're almost done with this video, but before we end it, we need to talk about the key. The key for this to work is that you must accept responsibility for all of your life. Yeah? You cannot blame your mama and your daddy and your past and the government and life and the human condition and your wife and your husband and your kids and your grandmother. You no matter what, even if you're born without 2 legs and one-eyed, still you accept responsibility, because you cannot use this if you keep blaming people, events, places, etc. for your situations. I mean, think about it. If you're gonna say, oh, I'm messed up because I grew up in the wrong family, how are you ever gonna fix that? That's gone and done. It's finished. Khalas, forget about it, right? So you say, okay, fine, from this point on I can do things radically different and I accept responsibility for my life from this point on. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. Fine, it could have been better, could have been worse, doesn't matter, it's gone. Yeah, you cannot do this if you keep blaming things. I mean, honestly, you just have to stop that stuff. Remember, responsibility is equal to responsibility. The minute you refuse to take responsibility, you also lose your responsibility. This is the key. Yeah, so you're not going to be doing self-talk to try and make your neighbor be nice to you. You take responsibility, right? Now, the other thing is you don't have to believe the self-talk for it to work. For example, if you are poor and you're giving yourself self-talk statements to make you abundant and wealthy, even if you don't believe you will ever become abundant and wealthy, by simply doing those affirmations that lead you there, slowly they'll become ingrained in you and you'll believe it. So self-talk is what creates the beliefs, not the other way around. A belief is simply a thought that you repeat over and over. So you don't have to believe this stuff. You just do it and it's gonna work over time. It's programming. That's how you got your beliefs in the first place. Right, so thanks a lot. That was quite a nice long video. I hope you found it useful. In the next one, we're going to do part 2. And over there, we're going to put things into practice and we're going to make them happen. And before that, I'll give you some sample powerful self-talk scripts that you can use for general life, for situations in life or for better attitudes and everything. And then we're going to learn how to make your own scripts. And then after that, in the next part again, we're now going to use this specifically for creating your perfect average day. All right, thank you and see you next time.